So the Axe-FX 3 wah block just got an update in the new 1.17 firmware. It is a graphic EQ edition, which I'm really excited about. So the wah block, as you can see, now has a graphic EQ section. Now, if you've watched my other video, which was based around the AX8 and the John Petrucci wah settings, you'll know that I had to chain a wah block and a graphic EQ block together and do some kind of clever tricks to get them to auto-engage together. But now we can do it all in one block. So I'll revisit those settings for you guys and give you some examples. The first thing we want to do, right-click the control and assign it to your pedal. At the moment, I'm just using an expression pedal hooked up directly to the Axe 3 through pedal jack number 1. So I've got it set to pedal number 1. I've got auto-engage on, set to a medium position. And then I've set the off value, instead of 5%, which would auto-engage when I've got my heel down, I've got it set to 95%. So this is toe down engage, which is, I just prefer that. It's a little bit more like using a real wah. So you got to make sure you've actually got your controller set to the wah block. So we've got that. At the moment, I'm using the USA 2C++ model. I'm playing my STR Guitars LJ1. This is the tone with the wah block not in there at all. It's just a kind of chunky, heavy rhythm tone. I really like this amp, and I think it sounds pretty cool. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty, it doesn't sound like John Petrucci, who am I kidding? It's just a C++. That's what that thing sounds like. So let's go to the wah block. And the first thing we want to do is we're going to reference the John Petrucci wah manual, which you can get online. So I've prepared this earlier. And what's pretty cool is it tells us his settings for the internal trim pots, which we're going to cop on the graphic EQ, and it also tells us the range of the pedal. So you can see here that the heel down low pass can be adjusted from 200 to 240 hertz and from 1.2 to 1.5. Let's just use 240 and 1.5 to start with. And then it says the maximum output is at 6 dBV, and you can see that his volume setting is pretty much cranked. So let's go to the wah block and let's set the output to, let's just be conservative and go for 3 dB, so it gives us a little boost. And then we're going to set the frequency minimum to 240, frequency max to 1500, and I'm going to select the Crybaby block. That would make sense because it is a signature Crybaby pedal. And all my parameters have reset, so I should have done that before I changed the block. Okay, now we're cooking with gas. So without touching the graphic EQ, it sounds like this. Which sounds pretty happening already. I really like the lower range of the sweep, how it sounds really vocal, and then when I'm pushing the pedal down, it's not too shrill. So there's some pretty cool settings. Let's go to the graphic EQ though, because what we want to cop are these trim pot settings. So it says here that you can get, it's a 100 hertz to 3.2K set of trim pots. You get like 18 dB of boost, so that's pretty cool. We can get close to that, not exact with the graphic EQ, but again, that's kind of the fun. You can customize your own wah tone. I just want to use this as like inspiration for what we're doing. So his settings, you can see he has 100 hertz pulled right out, 200 hertz, fair bit of that pulled out, 400 and 800 are boosted slightly, 1600 is cranked, and then 3200 is pulled down a little bit. So the way I would go about doing that in the graphic EQ, I'm going to pull this guy straight down, I'm going to push this guy straight up, so they're the like sort of maximum boost. And essentially, it looks like what he's doing is kind of just drawing like a straight line with the graphic EQ. That would be the way I would interpret it. So something like that should get us pretty close already. So that, and then what we'll do is we'll pull out a little bit of 2500 and we'll pull out a whole bunch of 4K. Let's put it, say, around -6. So with the addition of the graphic EQ, and what's also cool about this, we can assign a modifier to it to be on and off. So in certain scenes, if you want this, say, as your lead wah with the graphic EQ in there, you can. If you want your rhythm wah to not have the graphic EQ, you can also do that as well, which is pretty amazing. So with the EQ off, and then I'll turn it on about halfway through. I'm getting carried away with the silly wah faces, but essentially that will give us some JP style settings. We can go back and, if you've got the real wah to reference, what I would suggest is plug it in and then reference it against this and just go through and tweak these graphic EQ sliders, because the graphic EQ frequencies aren't exactly the same as these ones. Obviously, we do have 1600 and we do have 400, and we have kind of like in between 800. So kind of setting these guys appropriately will really help. But I think essentially what you've got there, you've actually got more range to do stuff with this wah block. For example, for me personally, it does sound still a little bit tinny in the top end. So what I would do is pull these guys right out, and I wouldn't boost 1600 quite as much. I might do something like that. So this would be the like custom wah settings I'd go for. Have a listen to this. So there we go. That's a John Petrucci-inspired wah setting using the Axe-Fx 3. On a lead scene, this is even better. Just adding some multi-delay and even more gain. The reason I like this is what we've done is essentially with the graphic EQ, we have tailored it to give us a really nice pre-gain mid-hump, which is hopefully going to give us a really nice boost when we're playing lead guitar. And rhythm guitar, it's going to help the wah cut through. So you get this kind of thing. And there we go. I hope you guys enjoyed that video, and I would really encourage you to play around with the graphic EQ in the wah block to fine-tune your wah tones. It's really amazing. If you don't want to use the graphic EQ and you set essentially very similar settings, but I think if you bring the frequency max down to like 1400, you can essentially copy the Jerry Cantrell Crybaby. Different settings you might, basically just go to the Dunlop website and look up all the manuals, and you can just copy in the minimum and maximum frequencies in there. But this is really cool because this wah update, it takes us away from just like a simple wah pedal, and it's essentially like having all these classic wahs able to do what the Rat Crybaby does. And I remember wanting a Rat Crybaby for so long, thinking it was the coolest thing because you could tweak all those controls. And with the Axe-Fx 3, essentially now this, the great wah update of 2018 has given us the ability to copy all of those tones. So that's pretty amazing. The drive block has graphic EQ in it as well now, but I will cover that in another video. So if you enjoyed the video, let me know in the comments. Let me know, hit subscribe, and let me know if this graphic EQ is helping you out in the wah block. I'm definitely going to use these settings and kind of fine-tune them for most of my patches. So wah will never be the same for me thanks to this. So if you guys enjoyed the video, let me know. I'll see you around. Be safe, be good to one another.